Good evening, my name is Jenelle Riley. I'm the film and TV editor of Backstage. I'm very excited to be here tonight, as I'm sure you all are, because who doesn't love Jane Lynch? From first catching our eyes in commercials and stealing scenes in Christopher Guest movies, the actress who was once Hollywood's best-kept secret is now known to everyone thanks to her swaggering, terrifying, sweatsuit sporting turn as cheer coach Sue Sylvester on Glee. Her performance has won her not only an Emmy Award, but assured her a place among TV's greatest icons. Please join me in welcoming Jane Lynch.
Thank you. Oh, please. I apologize. I screwed up. And anyway, I got here as quickly as I can. Thank you for waiting. I'm usually
I've never seen people so happy to have waited.
No.
It's a very huge compliment to you.
Oh, thank you.
I want to get this out of the way right away. Everyone knew you were going to win the Emmy Award. Did you know, and how did it feel when they called your name?
It was funny. The first thing I thought was, please don't say Jane Lynch. I didn't want to have to walk up there, but I mean, I was thrilled. Of course, I don't think anybody who wants to feign humility the way I do would say, "Oh, I knew I was going to get it." But it was an amazing feeling, and I don't know. I think after dancing that opening number, that kind of felt like I peaked there. Oh my God, does it get any better than this? And it did, actually. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was a really great.
I was in great company too. It felt surreal and almost dreamlike.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a really competitive category that year.
Yes.
Well, I want to start at the beginning. When did you first develop an interest in acting?
Right out of the chute. I'm being my mother's vagina. I knew immediately. I mean, I was addicted to television. I was addicted to putting on little shows, and like friends of mine would say, you're so lucky. You know what you wanted to do, and I think that is a blessing, and it's also a curse in that you really don't want to do anything else. So if you don't get to do it all the time, it's really frustrating, and it's. You feel like you can't go on, and I mean, it becomes very dramatic. But there was never a plan B for me ever. And my mother always said, "Learn how to type." She was a secretary, and you just have something to fall back on. And most artists just can't have anything to fall back on. They just you can't. You kind of have to put everything you have into it, and you have no choice. So,
I think I read somewhere that you quit your first school play?
I did. It was almost, I describe it as almost like walking up to my destiny and getting afraid and kind of scampering away. I was cast, starting a lifelong pattern of being cast in men's roles. I was cast as the king in a one-act version of the Once Upon a Mattress, the Princess of the Peace story. And it was called The Ugly Duckling. And I auditioned, and I don't know how it happened that I read for the king, and everybody laughed, and I was wonderful, and I went to the first rehearsal, and nobody laughed at the rehearsal. And I quit. Because I thought whatever freaky thing happened in the audition didn't happen in the rehearsal, and I'm going to make a fool out of myself. And that was probably more logic than I actually put to it at the time. And I joined the tennis team instead. And I regretted it, and I got the reputation of being a loser, a quitter, and I didn't get cast in a school production after that.
You auditioned?
Yeah. I didn't even get in the chorus for the musicals. And it made me very sad. I ended up doing Godspell because we did it in our theater arts class, and it was such a good production that the teacher said, "Well, let's have our parents come." So I actually got to perform on the stage, the big stage at our school. But yeah, I got a reputation as a quitter, and it was terrible. I dreamt about it. I dreamt about everybody around me getting into plays, and I didn't get into the plays, and it was a horrible thing.
So you were blackballed from the industry.
I was blackballed at the tender age of 14. Yes. Oh, it was awful. It was terrible.
How did your family feel about when did you come out to them as an actor?
As come out as an actor, as an actor. Well, they knew that. I mean, my mom knew all along. They knew I wanted to do it. They knew I was. they knew that I loved it, and my parents loved being in plays. They did this thing in church called Port of Call, where every classroom was a different port of call. And one year they were in the Irish room, and the next year they were in the Hawaiian room. And I remember, and everybody got loaded, and they would do show after show after show, and they'd ring a bell, and you'd go to the next show, and it would go on till like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I remember I was about 10 and being with my parents. As they were putting on the show, everybody had grease paint on, and the neighbor ladies had on like fishnets, and I was like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And so they knew I was serious about that. But I was writing agents when I was like 12.
Really?
I wrote the agents in Chicago, and my mother said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm writing agents." She said, "Not everybody can do what they want." I think it was her own kind of 1950s being brought up in that era where women nobody got to do what they wanted. It was a silly thing. And I cried, and it just broke my heart. She felt terrible, and to this day she says, "Oh, I feel so horrible about telling you that." But I mean, she knew I was serious then, and that nobody in my town of Dalton, Illinois, was an actress, or wanted to be an actress, or actually did it as a way to make a living.
So when were you finally able to study? When you got to college, or did you?
Yeah,
wait till
and I changed
grad school?
my mom said, don't be a theater major, but be theater adjacent, which is mass communications, and learn to type. So I remember mass communications 101 was. How classes close, in college, and it filled up really fast, and I wasn't able to get in for my first 2 semesters. I couldn't get in Mass Comm 101, but I did get into an acting class, and I did audition for the musical, and my reputation did not precede me, and I was cast as one of the strippers in Gypsy. I was cast in Lysistrata. We did a musical, like South versus the North kind of Civil War version of Lysistrata, and which is a Greek play, and we turned it into a musical too, which was a terrific experience. And I was off and running, and I auditioned for a tuition waiver, and I got it, and they said, but you have to be a theater major. So I quickly changed my major to theater, and my parents said, what? Until they saw I got a tuition waiver, and they went, all right.
They waived the whole tuition?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that must have been some audition.
It was about 10 people got it every year, and it was a big deal. Yeah.
Do you remember what you auditioned with? What piece?
Yes. Viola from 12th Night. And something sexy and inappropriate, totally inappropriate, from the Boom Boom Room. I don't know if you remember that. So I remember wearing a dance skin skirt and putting up my leg and go, I want you to blow me for once, or something like that. And I was still very tomboyish. It was just wrong. It was just wrong. Yes.
Well, you were studying there. Did you prescribe to any particular method, or? It
was pretty, an accident of fate was that Illinois State University, where I went to school, which was the only place that took C students. Not anymore. It's really difficult to get in there now, but it also happened to be one of the best theater programs in the country, undergraduate. All the kids from Steppenwolf in Chicago, a bunch of them anyway, 10 of them at least, came from Illinois State, and they were a little bit ahead of me. And the professors had worked with Uta Hagen, and like the big method people. And so it was very methody, definitely very methody, and there was a little bit of a classical bent to it, but mostly it was, let's tear our insides out and do Blanche Dubois as a freshman. I remember all the women had to do Blanche Dubois as a freshman in this one woman's class. Her name was Jean Scharfenberg, and she was pretty amazing, and kind of taught by shame and humiliation. And if I could jump to Sue Sylvester, I kind of based Sue Sylvester on her a little bit, subconsciously. I didn't realize it until someone asked me, and I really started to think about it, but I think it might have been on her.
Did you discover your knack for comedy that early on, or were you doing a little bit of drama?
No, I was never really doing drama. I fancied myself. I thought that would be my future, but I tended to get the comic roles in the dramas or the comedies.
Even that early on?
Even that early on, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I believe you went to Cornell University, didn't you, to get an MFA?
I did, the MFA program, yes. Not wanting to go into the real world, wanting to stay in. I love education. I still dream about being in college, and I'm like, it feels so good. I went to the master's program at Cornell, and they took about 8 people every year. It was kind of a nice, exclusive thing. It was kind of a big deal. And again, my parents were like, "You're going what? Cornell? Oh, okay." And it's free. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, it was free also.
Yeah. They only do scholarships. Nobody pays to be in the master's program. You're invited, and you're kind of taken care of, and you're given a stipend, and you have to teach. And
they pay you?
They pay you. Yeah, we got like a couple $100 a week. It was pretty crazy. Yeah.
I would never leave.
Yeah, it was great. It was really nice. Yes, but that was kind of the training I had at Illinois State I think was actually even better than the kind of, we got a great all-around training at Cornell, but there was something about the discipline and the teachers, and there's something very inspiring about the ISU training. And the Cornell was really good. Your back is up against the wall, and you're kind of forced to play. You're tired, you're exhausted, you work all day, and then they put you in a role that maybe you're not completely, like I would get these like ingenue roles, and you have to really find it in yourself. You have to find the comedy stuff and the tomboy stuff came easy to me, but trying to find the Southern Belle or the Restoration kind of ingenue was a challenge for me, and you find out what you're made of, I think, in those situations.
And what did you see as your career? Did you want to do film and TV? Did you think you'd be a theater actor?
Yeah, I thought I'd be a theater actor. I thought it'd be like I thought if I could be in the rep company at the Guthrie or something like that. I really thought that's where I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be, kind of the grand dame kind of theater type thing. I didn't see myself as, when I stumbled upon Second City in Chicago, I literally stumbled upon it and kind of found my home there, and my life kind of put me where I was supposed to be. If it were up to me, I'd probably still be, knocking on closed doors. But
and you ended up going to Chicago, I believe, after
graduation? Right, I'm from Chicago. Yeah, I grew up on the South Side. Yeah,
way back there.
Yes, and a really great theater scene there, and. I joined, of course, the Shakespeare Company, where I had absolutely no business, and I was insufferable too. I had an MFA under my belt and classical training, and I let everybody know it. And
they were very impressed.
No, not at all. It was funny when I quit. I made an announcement. I said, we were doing a Midsummer Night's Dream, and I said, after tonight's performance, I will be done with this company. And the guy who was running the company said, don't let the door hit you on the butt on the way out. And then he said, you're not going to get a gold watch that way. But I left.
And weren't you involved at Steppenwolf?
Yes. I started, a lot of the Steppenwolf people came from ISU, so I had a little bit of a connection there. Some of the people I went to school with were actually in administrative positions there. And so I got an understudy gig. I'm trying to think if I auditioned for it, or if they just asked me to do it. I think they just asked me to do it. It was for a play called Stepping Out, and there were about 12 cast members, and I understudied 5 of the women.
Wow.
And it was a tap dance class in somewhere in England, and so I although I don't know how to tap, I learned how to move my arms in the right way, and I did go on, and nobody knew I wasn't tapping. But that was a pretty big deal for me. That was the Second City thing kind of fizzled out for me. I never got on one of the stages, and I was kind of knocking on a closed door there, and I kind of got taken from there, where I needed to be, which was at Steppenwolf understudying, and then I ended up doing a couple of roles there, and got I guess I had my equity card from Second City, but anyway, they were my first professional plays, and it was really Steppenwolf Theatre is all about the actor. Everything exists to support the actor, and it was really kind of a wonderful experience.
You're younger than, I believe, like Joan Allen and
yes,
Joan
I understudied Joan. Yeah.
Really? So they were
Reckless.
there.
Mm-hmm. They were there. They were kind of becoming stars at the time. Gary Sinise and Terry Kinney actually directed the first play I did there. They were the founders of Steppenwolf, and they were kind of in New York and LA at this point. Yeah, they were kind of leaving at that point.
So how did you get involved in Second City? And I was under the impression that you actually did do a lot of the main stage shows there.
I did. I understudied Bonnie Hunt. And she got married during the run and took a honeymoon, so I was there for like 3 weeks. And I understudied a woman named Barb Wallace, who was wonderful. And I was kind of their understudy, go-to person, making myself very available, and thought I'd get some brownie points for it, and I didn't. I remember I went up to Joyce Sloan at one point. She just passed away too. She's a lovely woman, but I would go up into her office every 3 or 4 months, and I would go, I just want you to know if there's an opening on one of the stages, I'd love to be in one of the casts. And she'd look up from her work and go, okay, Jane, okay. And one day she looked up and she was just frustrated. She said, you know what, Jane, you will never be on a stage here. I'm sorry to say. And I went, oh. And that's when Steppenwolf kind of came along, and
wow,
yeah, just as I was spiraling into despair, I got that understudy gig.
Did you ask her why, or?
I didn't, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that And this sounds, I think it was political. I think it really was. There was a little bit of something going on between me and somebody else, and and also to Joyce Sloan's credit, and I don't know if she knew this actually, but I wasn't the greatest improviser. I wasn't the greatest, give me a line of dialogue. I wasn't great at that. I mean, I think I was really good at character. I think I really knew how to do sketch, but I wasn't a great improviser. And that might have been against me too. But I had a little tete-a-tete with somebody, and they won.
It was Tina Fey, right?
No, it wasn't. She's way younger than I am. She's way younger than I am. But yeah, I think that Joyce kind of didn't want to get involved in this little drama that was going on. And, I don't blame her at all, but it broke my heart.
I'm shocked to hear there were politics involved in theater.
I know. I was too. I couldn't believe it was happening.
So I thought that the real life Brady Bunch came out of Second City, but it didn't. Oh, okay.
No, Faith Soloway was our piano player, which is an incredible skill to accompany people when they're improvising, and she was just great at it. She and her sister Jill Soloway came up with the idea to do. They had Wednesday nights at this theater called the Annoyance Theater. Mick Napier, this guy, said, just take Wednesdays and do what you will and try to make us some money. So we thought the easiest thing to do would be to pull those episodes right off the television and put them on stage, the Brady Bunch episodes. And they asked me to be Carol. My friend Mary played Alice. She was a dead ringer for her, and a bunch of overweight 30-year-olds played the kids. And we went to thrift shops and we got our clothes and our wigs, and we didn't expect anybody to show up. We really didn't, and there was a line around the block to get in the first time. It was kind of a phenomenon.
And I didn't get to see it because it sold out when it was, I believe, in Orange County.
Oh, was it? Yeah, it was probably a different cast. It wasn't the original cast. But, yes, yeah, I think it did go to many different places.
But was it like a dead-on imitation or a parody? Was it
well,
broad?
we did the lines verbatim, and we, to the best of our ability, did the action. We didn't use any props or anything. We mimed almost everything. It was kind of an homage to it, and kind of making fun of it too.
And didn't it tour all over the world?
Well, I don't know about, maybe it did the world, I don't know, but we went to the Village Gate. We were one of the last shows at the Village Gate to show how desperate they were toward the end there. I said, we'll take your show. We were about 9 months at the Village Gate, New York, and about 9 months out here at what was the Westwood Playhouse, is now the Geffen Playhouse.
9 months?
They were slumming it too back then.
That's a huge theater too.
It's a huge theater, and we sold it out every night.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty amazing, pretty amazing.
So when did you finally decide to make the move to LA?
Well, the first time I came out here was with the Real Life Brady Bunch in 91 or 92. And then I went back to Chicago and I did a play at Steppenwolf, and I did The Fugitive. I had a small part of The Fugitive. And then I came out here in 93. I was 33 years old.
I just remembered The Fugitive. Was that how you got your SAG card, or
no? Vice versa, I think, is how I got mine. Or maybe I had it before then, actually, for like a commercial or something. But Vice Versa was my first kind of big movie.
I love that movie.
It's cute, isn't it? Yes.
Of all the body switching movies
right.
that came out that year, that was my favorite.
And when I did the first episode of Party Down recently, I walked in and I saw Fred Savage, who was in Vice Versa. He was 10, and I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I'm directing." He was real kind of humble about it too. "I'm going to be telling you what to do." And I thought, when did you get old enough to direct?
So was the plan to come to LA and try your luck in film and TV?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And did you have an agent? Or
I did. I had an agent in Chicago who had an office out here. So I know that that's unique. And people very talented people go years without representation out here. And I had it from the get-go.
Are you still with the same representation? Okay. Did you start?
Gabrielle, you're here, right?
Did you start working pretty quickly out of the gate? Or?
I did. I got my first audition was with a show called Bakersfield PD. I don't know if you remember that. It was on for about 3 or 4 episodes, and it was really good. It's about this police department in Bakersfield, California, and I was the town madam. And but it was pretty amazing. I remember I still had cottonmouth from the flight when I auditioned. Yeah.
That was your first audition out here?
My first audition.
And you booked it?
And I booked it.
Wow.
I mean, it didn't happen. I think that didn't. I didn't book everything, but I happened to book that one.
So you must be really good at auditioning.
You know what? I can be. I'm either very good at it or very bad at it. I can't be halfway. It's like I can't be halfway on book or halfway off book. I'm either on or I'm off. Yeah, I'm kind of extreme in that way. I'm either very good or not good at all.
Do you mind telling us about your worst audition?
Oh, yeah, well, I would blame it on the person I auditioned for. I walked into a casting office and the woman didn't even look up. And I put my hand out and she said, "I'm not shaking hands." And I read, and as I was reading, I just kept falling apart. You know how your spine starts to collapse? And I was standing there and realizing that she wasn't looking at me, she wasn't paying any attention, she was kind of going through the motions, and then she went, "Thank you," like that. Oh, it was awful. Just awful.
Did you get the part?
I did not. No, it was a pre-read. I don't know if you know what pre-reads are. It's like you're not even in the game yet. You know.
And what kind of career were you looking for yourself? Did you know it was going to be in comedy? Were you hoping to do everything?
Oh, of course, I was hoping to do everything, but I had a feeling it would be in comedy and sitcoms. I loved sitcoms because they kind of are theater and television at the same time, and I really understood how it worked, how the sitcom worked, and so I loved that. I always hoped I'd get a series. I didn't think I'd be in movies. I always hoped that I could have a place to hang my hat, but yeah, I guess that my ambitions, I must say, my ambitions for myself were not as great as what's actually happened. I knew I wanted to be a working actor, and I knew I wanted to. I didn't need to be rich. I did need to be famous. I wanted to be famous. I would have sacrificed the money for fame. And now I've got both. Thank you. Not that much money.
Things get rough, you can melt down that Emmy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could. Is it gold? Is the Emmy gold?
I think it's gold plated, I heard somewhere. Yeah. And you can bludgeon someone with that SAG award.
You sure could, boy. That thing is dangerous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's heavy. Yeah. You know you won something when you win a SAG. But,
I think I read somewhere it's 16 pounds.
oh, wow.
Yeah. And then you see the people who won too and carry it around like
right. And those
dumbbells.
girls with the toned arms, you know, going like
I think, from what I've heard, you became a favorite of certain casting directors pretty quickly.
not the one who did this. Yes, Gilda. What's Gilda's last name? She got me my first job, Bakersfield PD, and no, that was Hirschfeld. Mark and what's her name? Lieberman Hirschfeld. That's what who they had. They were the big Seinfeld people, and yeah, they gave me my first job. And then Gilda, I can't remember Gilda's last name. Gave me this.
Strat.
Yes, yeah, she was just really great to me.
And you were doing a lot of commercials at the time, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did a lot of commercials in Chicago, first of all. And then when I came out here, I did pretty well on guest spots on TV. Mm-hmm. And then I think I got a commercial agent probably my second or third year here, then a voiceover agent maybe my fourth and fifth year here. There was a year where I didn't get cast in anything, but I did voiceover. So when something would die, another aspect of my career would pick up.
Why do you think that you were so popular in commercials? There are certain people who just click in that medium.
I also think it's that there's always, everybody has kind of a run. There's a certain thing, there's a certain kind of, if you look at commercials now that are good and you'll go, oh, they're kind of going for that kind of person. I mean, I definitely had a run from like 1998 through about 2000. My thing became the thing, and there were people kind of doing the same thing as I was, and they were getting cast too. And yeah, and I think it's only good for a run, and then you're done. You run and then you're done. You come back, it's like, I saw somebody who was popular like in the 80s. There was this guy who was in every commercial, and he's doing an erectile dysfunction commercial now. So he's back. So I was looking at him going, why does he look familiar? Oh my God, he's that cute guy from the late 80s, and now he's in his 60s, and he's...
I think a lot of us probably first took notice of you as Christy Cummings in Best in Show with Christopher Guest.
Yes, thank you.
You have these very illiterate character names, Christy Cummings and Sue Sylvester.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'll have to look at my IMDb page to see if there are more.
And didn't that come about because you had done a commercial with Christopher Guest?
Yeah, you know, Christopher directs commercials like every other day, and I went for a callback for the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes commercial, and it said director Christopher Guest, and I was like, what? Because I loved Waiting for Guffman. It was just a transcendent experience for me, really. I remember I saw it at the, the Angelica Theatre in New York. And I was sitting next to these two gay guys who were on their first date, and one guy and I were elbowing each other and laughing, and the other guy was like, I was like, that's not going to last. That relationship is over. But yeah, I loved it. And I was like, oh my God, I want to work this way. I want to work this way. And I got to meet him. I did the callback, and he cast me, and he came up to me at lunch doing the Frosted Flakes commercial, and he said, you know, I do movies. And I went, and he said, maybe we'll get to work together someday. And I said, oh, I would love that. And like 3 months later, I was at the newsroom having a pancake. And he walked in, and he kind of looked at me like, I know her from somewhere. And I was like, and he called me over and said, I have an idea. Come to my office. Because he said, I would have thought of you, but I haven't. But I hadn't up till now. And he said, I was going to have Catherine O'Hara be with Jennifer Coolidge. Do you know who she is? And I was like, oh, yes. And he said, but I think I'm going to put her, you know, Catherine with Eugene, and so I'll need somebody to be the other lesbian. And I was like, I'll do it. So, and he, by the end of the day, he you know, asked me if I would do it.
Was there ever a formal read? Or
no, he said
there's nothing to read, I guess.
Nothing to read, and he also said that he can just tell.
Yeah.
He said that he can just tell by talking to somebody.
Now, you said you weren't a good improviser.
Right.
But
that's a whole different game. What Chris does is completely different. The Second City thing, I always say, is more masculine. It's let's get to the joke, let's get to the orgasm. There's no foreplay. It's like, let's get to it. And I'm not good at that at all. And the Christopher Guest stuff is meandering, and you know, he edits it so you don't get bored out of your skull. Because if you were to watch a shooting, you would be like, there's nothing they're doing that's entertaining at all. I would not pay to watch this at all. But he goes back there like a mad scientist, and he puts it all together, and he gives you a performance you didn't even have. So he's kind of hands it to you. Completely different game.
And then each time, has he just come to you and said, I have a role for you?
Yeah, he gives the phone call, and you kind of hear that people are starting to get calls, and you're like hoping you're on the list.
And what's it like to be a member of that rep company?
It was another one of those experiences where you step out of your body and go, how did I get here? And am I really here? And can I consider myself one of these people? And I'm so honored to be a part of that group. They're all really nice people. On top of being really funny, they're all good family people. And like the ensemble movies I do with Judd Apatow and you know, the Adam McKay and all those guys. What I love about those ensembles is that it's the best joke wins, and you support each other. You know, you shine in this moment, then I'll support you, and then I'll shine in that moment, and it's, you know, got great equanimity, and yeah, I love it. It's the way I want to work.
And what is the process like? Like, are you given a character outline?
Yes.
Is there?
With Chris, yeah, we're given a character outline with a little bit of a backstory, and then we, you know, from there we do whatever we want. And I always find that I work on those roles so much harder because in order to improvise, you really have to know everything about your character. You have to really have answered every question for who this person is in order to have the freedom to just exist in the moment. And so it's really fun. You know, like Jennifer works different than like Michael Higgins, and Jennifer and I talked a lot. We were like, well, what if we blah, 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 blah. And Michael Higgins and I didn't even have a powwow before we started working together. And so I heard a lot of his stuff in A Mighty Wind for the first time as the camera was on me, which was very interesting not to, laugh, I guess.
Now your character in A Mighty Wind is a former adult film actor,
right?
Who would do anything except one thing.
Right. No, she would do anything. She would do that one thing that the other girls wouldn't do.
What is that one thing?
Oh, it could be two things, but I'm not going to say what it is. But that's see what Chris told me, and Chris and Eugene Levy write these together. He said that she's an ex-porn actress who has joined the Main Street Singers, and then you get to decide what you're going to do with it. Does she have shame about it? Did she find religion or whatever? And I decided that she just incorporates everything into the fabric of her experience, and she's just very sensual. And but yeah, I remember hearing that women in porno, if they do a couple of different things, some girls won't do them. Okay, it's the butt and and deep throat. I think are the two things you get paid extra for.
Really?
Yes, and you're in like a little group. You're in your own little grouping. So she would do things that other girls wouldn't do. So that's it. So you wanted to know, and I just told you it was one of those two things, probably both.
I love that she had no shame about it, but her husband didn't seem totally at home with it.
No, I think he just loved her so much, though. But you can see him start to like dissolve in some of the as she's talking kind of freely about her past. Yes.
Have you heard any rumblings about an upcoming project?
I haven't.
or-
I've like read online that there's rumblings, but he, I had a little email exchange with him just a couple days ago, and he didn't mention anything, and I didn't ask.
He probably thinks he can't afford you now.
Yeah, right. No, never.
Did you find, I know the term big break is not really accurate, but did you find things really changed after
Yeah,
Best in Show?
that was a big break.
Yeah.
A lot of things changed when after Best in Show. People knew my name. I started to get offered work as opposed to having to audition about 50% of the time. You go from being kind of an obscurity that I didn't feel obscure. I didn't feel. I felt satisfied even before then, but definitely this was a big, doors open for me that had not been open before.
And then you started stealing scenes from these amazing ensembles like 40-Year-Old Virgin, which I believe was written for a man?
Yes, another one. Nancy Walls, who's Steve Carell's wife, said, "You have all men in your film. At least read Jane for the store manager." So that's where we came up with me deflowering him, and it was the the audition, the improv for the audition. So
You improv that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with him. Mm-hmm.
See, so you're good at improv.
It was all right. That was pretty good. Yeah, and another thing about you're doing it for people who are going to be filming it, so they know that you don't need to jump to the joke so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And another film that I love, Role Models. Mm-hmm. Was that written for a woman?
That was written for me. Paul and David Wayne wrote that together, and Ken Marino, and they're friends, and so they asked me to do it. So in fact, I didn't improvise any of that. Every once in a while, I'd have a little something.
So now you have people writing roles for you specifically.
That was really an honor to have that. Yes.
Was that before or after Party Down?
That was around the same time. They're both Paul Rudd projects. They were both kind of happening at the same time, and I was involved in both of them.
And every actor I know loves Party Down.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Thank you. I love it.
What was it like working on that? Because I heard you had no money.
Oh, on that movie?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we got $100 each for doing that. That was the guys who did Veronica Mars, and our good friends of Paul's too. Tried to get that. I don't know that they had pitched it, but they decided to make the pilot themselves. So they made it on their own nickel, and they used the Veronica Mars crew, and we did it for $100 each. And they wanted to bring the pilot around, pitch that as opposed to just we have this idea. So so we did it for $100.
Wow.
I've done things for less than $100.
Even at that point in your career?
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
Only for friends, or were you willing to?
I'm only for friends, because it's usually who's doing it, what's to eat. That's how I choose.
A couple specific roles of yours that I want to talk about. One being Julia Child's sister.
Yes.
In Julie and Julia, yeah. And I remember when you first come off that train and we realize it's you, everybody in the audience just bursts out laughing. Like, that's brilliant casting.
Nice, thank you.
And you didn't audition for that, did you?
No, I met Nora Ephron at the premiere of A Mighty Wind, and she was coming out of the ladies' room and I was going in, and I just expected to kind of walk by her, and she actually put her arm out toward me and said, "I hope we'll get to work together sometime." And I just thought that was great. And then she called my agent and said, "Will Jane meet me?" Because I was in New York, and for breakfast, and I was like, "Oh yeah." And she said, "You're the tallest actress I know." I said, "We're putting Meryl Streep in," she said, "Will you do this? They're small scenes. I'm not going to pay you very much at all, and but I could probably get you a trip to Paris out of it." And I said, I'm in. And then Paris turned into Hoboken, New Jersey. They have a beautiful train station there, better than anything in Paris. So and more authentic. So I ended up going to Hoboken, but it was worth it.
Was that, oh, you had already done Lemony Snicket.
Right.
So had you worked with Meryl on that?
We, like, kind of two ships in the night.
Yeah.
Yes, a little bit, kind of a nice to meet you, and it was lovely.
So, I mean, every actor wants to know what it's like to share scenes with Meryl Streep.
She's spontaneous in the moment, and protective of her energy. She's not like small talking and, you know, what did your father do for a living? You know, that kind of a thing. But she's playing such a big character too. I just know her doing Julia Child. Such a huge character. Such a, you know, she was such a eccentric woman, and so was her sister Dorothy. And so she was. I was so happy to see. It kind of affirmed for me that, you know, she made these huge choices, and she was having so much fun the whole time, and she stayed so grounded in reality, you know, that it was lovely to see. I was like, that's perfection. That's exactly what I want to do in every moment, is to have so much fun and to be completely committed to your choices and so rooted in something so real. You know.
Since I mentioned Lemony Snicket, we actually have an audience question from Nancy. How was it working with Jim Carrey in Lemony Snicket?
I did not work with Jim. I have met him in other, and he's the loveliest guy, but I didn't work with him. I just worked with Meryl Streep, that's all. She's the only one I locked eyes with.
Because I know Jennifer Coolidge told me that she did Lemony Snicket so that she could meet Meryl.
She did?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then she snuck over to our set. Yeah, I did. That was a whole different part of the movie, the Meryl Streep and Jennifer Coolidge part.
Now, I'm sorry,
the Jim Carrey.
I just learned recently that you were in The Aviator.
Yes.
You were Amelia Earhart.
I was, and I was cut.
How did they tell you about that?
That I was cut?
Yeah.
Nobody told me. I just wasn't invited to the premiere. That's how you find out. That happens.
Has it happened before?
That I've been cut? Wow, good question. I've had scenes that I like watch the movie and go, what? And mostly though I forget. People say, did Chris cut out anything from Mighty Wind that you miss? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember. I'm very happy with what's in there. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been cut completely out of a movie.
Have you ever been fired from a job?
Yes. Really? I was fired from the Michael Richards sitcom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly why I was. I was just on my way for Thursday, so we tape on Friday. I was on my way to work Thursday, and my agent called and said, "Are you on your way?" And I said, "She goes, go home. Don't even show up. You don't even have a parking pass anymore." I'm like, oh, really? It feels so cruel because you never know why. You really don't, and nobody's going to tell you. Mm-hmm. You know, you weren't very good. So I don't really know what happened there, but yeah, it felt terrible. I suffered it.
Was it just a guest spot, or?
Yeah, it was just a guest spot.
Not to say just a guest spot, but
I've not been like cast in a pilot and then replaced when it goes. Oh, that would be the worst. You hear those stories and. Ugh.
Had you done any pilots before Glee?
Yeah, I did a bunch of pilots. Not one every season, but yeah, I probably did about 4 or 5 pilots before Glee. One was picked up. It was called MDs, and it was on like 2002 with Bill Fichtner and really,
John Hannah.
John Hannah, a wonderful guy. That was on for about 11 episodes. So,
was it hard? Did you get invested?
I did. I was calling, the hotline to get the ratings. Every night our show aired, I was very invested in it staying on the air, and I just don't have that at all anymore. I don't have that kind of micromanagement interest that I used to have.
Well, I can tell you, Glee's doing good.
That's what I hear. Yeah, I hear that.
Which of course brings us to Glee and
Yes.
Sue Sylvester. How did this role come to you?
From what I understand, Ryan, they actually had a script and there was no Sue Sylvester in it. And Kevin Riley, who was the head of Fox Television, said, "Ryan, you need a nemesis. You need somebody who's trying to destroy the Glee Club." And so he told Ian Brennan, who's the creator of the series and writes everything that comes out of my mouth, he said, "I want her to be a cheerleading coach, and her name is Sue Sylvester, and I want you to write it, and Jane Lynch will play her." That's what I heard he said, is that Jane Lynch will play her. I don't know if that's true, but I choose to believe that's true. So I'm telling you, it's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And so Ian came up with Sue, and he went extreme, which I love.
What did you think when you first read the character on the page? Did you know exactly?
I laughed out loud with the first description. It said Sue Sylvester may or may not be on horse estrogen. And and may or may not have posed for Penthouse, and that just told me everything I needed to know about Sue Sylvester. She'll do anything.
You mentioned that you sort of drew on someone from your past for the character.
Yes, I didn't realize this at the time. I didn't specifically set out to imitate this woman, but I had that teacher at Illinois State University who was rather, in the middle of the cornfields of Illinois. She was just this very dramatic, and yet she was wonderful deep down. And she was a character herself. She really had a heart, but she covered it with shawls, and she said, "Thank God for the layered look," because she was huge. She was an enormous woman, and she wore like layers and layers of clothing to hide how her frame. And she actually had an accent like this, and she was born in Missouri. But she made fun of herself too, and that Sue doesn't have so much of that self-deprecation, but she kind of trampled on people's psyches. She was pretty rough. She was pretty harsh on the kids, right out of the cornfields of Illinois, and she was just kind of tough on them.
And was Sue always going to be such a big part of the show? Did they tell you?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that the Glee Club did need a nemesis. I don't know that they thought that it would always be Sue Sylvester. I'm not really sure. I started out as a guest star because I actually had another pilot that was still in contention. It was possible that it would be put on the air, and I'm so glad it wasn't. It wasn't that good. Nobody was happy with it, and it kind of threatened to pull me off of the set of Glee for like the first 5 episodes. So I was really grateful when that fell apart.
And did you had to have any input into the character, or was
no? And I remember the first day Ryan said to me, "Improvise something here," and I was like, "God, I hope I don't have to improvise every time I come in. This is such pressure." And it's something about I have an interview, and I said I have a phoner, and I think I'll use my iPhone or something like that, like showing off of her technology, whatever. And he was like, "Yeah, that's good, that's good." So I started to think, oh my God, every time I go to work, I tried to come up with funny things in my mind on the way up there. That's how I came up with the, "You think this is hard? Try being waterboarded. That's hard." So I came up with that one. Then Ian took off on it and just gave it 100 different variations. But ultimately, they did not want my input. They really didn't care. And I kind of felt obliged, and I would say things, well, maybe if I blah, 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 and you go, But, they knew what they were doing. And my lines are so wordy and such run-on sentences that it's all I can do to learn my lines and without, adding new things.
You improvise a little, though, don't you, here and there?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Very little.
Chris Colfer was here, and I remember he said, you improvised something that made him laugh so hard.
Oh, good.
Well, I think it was when you approach him in Mercedes, you said something like, "Hey, Bottom," or something like that. You had to do
I'm always trying to come up with terrible nicknames for him. Yes.
Power Bottom, that's what it was.
Hey, Power Bottom.
Yeah.
Hey, Lady Face. Yeah. I always try to come up with something demeaning for Chris. But he loves it. He always laughs, so I work real hard to try to come up with it.
And I actually find porcelain oddly endearing.
Isn't it sweet? I call him porcelain now, meaning more like porcelain. It's spelled like the pig porcelain, not so much that his skin is so perfect. So it's kind of a combination of both. Porcelain.
How much did they know about Sue going in that they could tell you? I mean, did you know that she would have a mentally challenged sister?
No. That was all. That's Ryan Murphy. He is always thinking out of the box, and he gets bored if he doesn't do things that are. And I remember reading that script where I was really mean to Lauren, who plays the Down syndrome student, who I finally take on as a Cheerio. But I cast her. I choose her as the new Cheerio. And, Will is like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that to this kid?" Mm-hmm. And then you find out that she's trying to treat her like she said, "I'm mean to her like I'm mean to everybody else." And then you see, of course, that she has a sister who has Down syndrome. And, you kind of start to understand why Sue is the way she is. And, she's been protecting this sister her whole life, and she's seen people be really cruel, so she's kind of in maybe not the best choice in the world, but she's getting back at the world.
Has there ever been anything that you read in a script that you just thought, oh, we just went too far?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, Ian always puts something in the first draft that he's just daring Fox to take it out. He waits to see if they're. And there was one where I called him. I said, "I can't say this." He said, "I can't believe it's in there. I thought it would be taken out." But it's where he says, I say, I'm going to bring a kitty to you, and in the middle of the night, I'm going to let you fall in love with that kitty, and then in the middle of the night, I'm going to steal into your home, and I'm going to skin it alive. I said, I can't do it. I just did a PSA for PETA. I can't do this. I also the mother of, I have 5 cats and 2 dogs, and I don't find it funny at all. And he's like, stop, that shouldn't even have made it through. He said, I did that for my own perverse enjoyment. He said, no, take it out. So we changed it, and it cracks me up. But the line he gave me instead was, I will steal into your home in the middle of the night and punch you in the face. Apropos of nothing. I just love it. It's just so stupid. I'm going to give you a kitty and then punch you in the face.
So it's okay to beat up on Will, but not hurt cats.
We can't hurt cats.
This is sort of a weird question, but as an actor, how do you justify moments like when Sue's writing in her journal, which is always a highlight.
Right.
Always happy to see the return of Sue's journal. And she says things like, here I am, almost 30.
Yeah,
like, is she aware?
Here I am about to turn 30. Yeah. I love that stuff. I mean, Sue Sylvester is, I assumed she's like the biggest liar on the planet. I supposedly saved POWs in Vietnam, which I am too young to have done that. I smoked out Noriega in Panama. I have all these wonderful stories of things that I've done, and supposedly I have Nazi hunter parents. Well, it turns out I do have Nazi hunter parents. Right. He made that true. But yeah, we just figured that Sue Sylvester is kind of timeless. She's been around forever, Something about the, oh God, that just, I referenced something in the Civil War that I was there.
So does she, because this is her private journal,
right.
Is she just screwing around with herself, or does she,
you are
convince
really
herself?
Thinking too logically.
Well, I want to know about the hovercraft.
Yeah, oh no, I think, the hovercraft. I think she really does live in her own movie with its own reality, and she fools herself.
And everyone loves Sue, but at the same time, she does some really awful things.
She's a horrible person.
How do you keep the audience invested in a character who's
good question.
Evil?
I think one of the funny things about Sue, and the reason that people don't despise her too much, I think we've pushed it a couple of times this season, but is that she's not dangerous like Hannibal Lecter. You laugh at her. And a lot of times she says the things that we wish it's a little devil on her shoulder.
Yeah.
We wish that we could say. But I mean, they have pushed me very far. I did some horror. I mean, I threw Artie into the lockers. He's in the wheelchair. We've pushed it. But then we'll do, Ryan says, we'll just give you a thing with your sister and you'll buy 7 more episodes of heinous behavior. Just show your Down syndrome sister and everybody will love you again.
How terrific is that actress?
She's the best.
Well?
I just worked with her today.
Oh,
Robin,
really?
who plays my sister, yes. Yeah, she's really sweet. She's a sweetheart, and her sister's really nice too. It's really fun to watch her and her sister, and how her sister is the caretaker, and just like Sue is. Yeah. She's a sweetheart.
I remember the first time we saw the scene with Sue's sister on the show, the person sitting next to me turned to me and went, Jane Lynch just won an Emmy.
Yeah. That combination of funny and...
Have you been surprised by how much people have embraced this character, especially because she is so wicked?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think I found her to be delightful and tasteful the first time tasty, not exactly tasteful at all. The first time I read the script and, how far they go with her, I think is just really fun. I think it's the extremity of it that is so funny. And I think people grab onto that.
And just one of the little touches I love is when she goes on her date and she's got the pearls with the sweatshirt suit.
With the tracksuit. And she's dumped. Oh, it's terrible.
Could you have ever predicted the phenomenal success of this show? Did it catch you off guard?
It caught me off guard in a way, but I know the power of music. I know the kids love music. I'm surprised at the... I knew that if it got on the air, it would have a following, and that may not be a big following, but it would be a rabid following, because that's just what music does, I think. But it spans all generations. That's the part that's really gratifying and surprised me is I get stopped by old people and parents and kids. Just like the cool barista, it watches the show. I just love it.
Are they a little scared of you, or do they know that you're not?
No one's ever
Sue?
scared of
Okay.
me. They just, I love how mean you are. That's what people say mostly.
See, I'm a little concerned that people enjoy such a mean character.
Yeah, I think it's just that I think it's the part of ourselves. It's that shadow. We love dipping into the shadow, and she's kind of a not very dangerous representation of our meaner sides.
That's true. I guess she's fairly harmless.
Yes.
And can you tell us anything you've got coming up with Sue?
Let's see. Wow, it's so funny because I don't know what just aired.
What's been a while?
It's been a while.
We haven't had- Oh yeah, tomorrow is the supervillains, I believe.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. Yeah, of course, I'm out to destroy the Glee Club because I just can't get enough of that. And this is what I love about Sue Sylvester. She enlists Terry, Will's ex-wife, the old Glee Club, Sandy Ryerson, and that real handsome guy who plays the vocal adrenaline. Cheyenne, who's just the best. Nicest guy, too. And she enlists them all to come to the teacher's lounge at midnight to announce her evil plan that she's hatching, and she wants them as her cohorts, and it's going to be the League of Doom. And she gives them each nicknames, terrible nicknames, and the one I remember right now, I forget the other ones, is Terry's, which is Honey Badger. I don't know if you've seen the Honey Badger thing on YouTube, check it out. The Honey Badger is like this vicious little creature, and there's this gay guy who does a voiceover for it, and he's like, look at that Honey Badger, doesn't give a shit. Honey Badger don't care. He's all badass. And it's hilarious. So I got Jessel, and I call her Honey Badger, and I bought her a t-shirt that says Honey Badger didn't give a shit. It's my gift to her.
That's a pretty quick turnaround because I feel like that clip just went viral.
I know, isn't it crazy?
Recently.
They pick stuff up like that.
It's amazing.
You know?
Do you ever have to go back and do reshoots?
Oh, reshoots because it's no longer topical?
Yeah.
No, no.
Or to add in something that suddenly became topical?
I don't think so. I don't think we have.
Like, will we be seeing a Friday parody?
Really? You will see Friday in the the prom episode. Yeah, we jump on everything. I didn't even know what it was. I had to look it up.
And will you be doing any more singing this year?
Not that I know of. I don't think so.
Are you kind of glad you don't have to do the big musical numbers?
Oh, I
with the
love
kids?
doing them.
Really?
I would love to do one every week.
Really?
I would.
Because I hear they have very little time to prepare.
They are worked so hard, and they are flying by the seat of their pants. But I think that they've all become better performers and better actors. You know, it's that whole thing like I did in graduate school where your back is up against the wall and you just have to find out what you're made of. And these guys are finding out what they're made of, and they're doing a great job.
And is there any downside to being on a weekly series?
For me, absolutely not. There's not a downside at all. I sashay in and out 3-4 days a week, and I work, a handful of hours and I'm done. They're working really hard, but I don't think there's any downside to that for them.
Like Sue, you've played a lot of really great authoritarian characters.
Yes.
Did you ever worry about getting typecast?
No, not really. I'm always happy to have the job, and if it means you have to typecast me, then go ahead. That's fine. But one of the things I try to do is I try not to play the same thing over and over again, although I think you could probably accuse me of doing that in a couple of roles. I try to bring something a little different than the last time, but I do tend to get cast, or at least I did. I think I probably now would not. I would try to stay away from it just because that muscle has been exercised. It's over-exercised. But
Are you getting a lot of Sue Sylvester type offers?
No, I'm not getting any offers.
What?
I know it's shocking.
Well, there's some people here who probably.
Yeah. I actually, it's interesting. I rarely get, every once in a while, something will come up. But I'm so busy doing this too. And so I really don't have much time.
But you were pretty busy even before this series. I'm surprised.
Yeah. It seemed like I had more offers before. Now. Gabrielle, what's going on? It's all right. We don't have the time anyway. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and it's funny that fire, that ambitious fire that used to make me, go crazy every day, and I was in my car like the whole day just trying to drum stuff up, and I don't have that anymore. That's kind of satisfied, and it's a young man's game, I think, too. But I'm tired.
But do you find that even later in your career, you're getting some of the best roles?
Yeah, I mean, Sue Sylvester is just, it's yeah. I think of the I was 40 when Best in Show came out. So if you're in your 30s and you're thinking it's over, even if you're in your 40s, there's a whole world out there.
Are there any types of roles you'd really like to play you haven't had the chance to yet?
Not really. No. I'm so kind of right here in the moment that I don't know. I'm not dying to do anything else.
Well, I was going to ask if you still had to audition, but if you're not getting offers,
I won't audition anymore. I won't work. If I just don't want to. I'm tired. And there's something about trotting out your cookies when nobody knows who you are. That's kind of like, look at me. And now that people kind of know who I am, and I don't know, auditioning would seem weird. It's like you either buy it or you don't.
And what's been your most demanding role?
Oh, good question. I have done jobs that have asked me to do, like, be more vulnerable than I'm used to being, and I don't think I've risen to the occasion as well as I would like to. I think there are softer sides that I stay away from, that I don't dive into the way I do the harder stuff and the harder edged stuff. And I think that a long way to answer your question, but I think that the softer, more vulnerable things, I still don't feel like that's as accessible to me as the is.
Do you have any interest in getting back on the stage sometime soon?
No.
Really?
No. I don't. I'm so lazy. I don't. I'm very happy with this job, and I think eventually I will. Though I think that never leaves you. But right now, no, I don't feel like it.
When was the last time you did a play?
The last time I did a play was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, I've been doing sketch comedy a lot before, like Glee. I haven't done a play in a very long time. I went to New York and did Nora Ephron's Love, Loss, and What I Wore, but that's a staged reading, and you're sitting down reading from a notebook. It's not the same thing as going on the journey that you do when you do a play. But I think it's probably been at least 10 years since I've done a real play, I think.
Do you remember the last one?
Oh gosh, a real play. A real live play. I can't remember. It might have been Chicago. I don't think I've done a play here. Have I done a play? Yeah, I did a couple of plays here. I bet it was 10 years ago.
Wow.
I can't remember what it was.
It wasn't Brady Bunch, though.
No, I've done plays since the Brady Bunch.
I have some other audience questions. Sure. This one's from Christy. Thank you for coming to speak to us tonight. I'm sure I'm not the only actor here who admires you in your career. What actors have influenced you, and who do you admire?
Good question. I love Meryl Streep, and that's kind of a given and almost a cliched answer, but it's true. Jennifer Saunders of Absolutely Fabulous,
wow.
I think is just so daring and so courageous and so wonderful. And if you've never seen it, you should really check it out. American. I always thought Anne Hesh was just a wonderful actress, and I'd love to see her do more. Anne Hathaway is very good.
Is she doing Glee? I thought I heard.
Yes, she is doing Glee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's going to play Chris's lesbian aunt. Isn't that nice? Yeah, she's great. She was lovely. Yeah, she came up to us at the Golden Globes. She was lovely.
Is everyone trying to get on the show now? Who would you love to see on it?
Oh, good question. I like to see somebody like Tyne Daly. I want to see a real Broadway Megan Mullally, something like that.
Oh, she'd be great.
She's kind of a 11 o'clock number kind of gal.
I'm actually surprised they haven't hit her up yet.
Megan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet they will. I bet they will.
She was sort of your replacement in a way on Party Down.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then you got to work together.
Yeah, we did. I did the last episode of Party Down. It was my wedding where I married like a 79, 80-year-old man, and yeah, Megan was she was there. It was great.
But it was very sweet. You were actually in love with him.
Yes, I adored him. And then he died at the wedding, and I got all his money, and I was sad for about 30 seconds, and then I went.
Question from Erin. How did you navigate through the hazards of managers and agents?
Let's see. Well, I had an agent when I came here, and they were lovely. And I've stayed. I've been, I think, with Gabrielle now for 6 or 7 years, and I'm a serial monogamist when it comes to agents. So I've had great people. Great people.
How did you get your first agent in Chicago?
How did that work? Oh, it was funny. There were about 5 agencies in Chicago, and everybody was kind of nobody was exclusive with anyone. You were with all of them, and there were days where you got to parade yourself past the office to like go, "Hi, Jane Lynch checking in," and they would go, kind of like that casting director. And so I had like 5 agents at once, and then I did go exclusive with a voiceover agent in Chicago. So yeah, you just kind of get lucky. Yeah, I don't know how anybody does it.
Did you ever have to take a survival job when you were acting?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I did, yes. When I went to Chicago and was doing plays like in that Shakespeare company, I worked temp and mostly receptionist jobs, and I was a waitress at R.J. Grunt's in Chicago. It's a kind of a dinerish place.
By the time you started working at Steppenwolf, were you a full-time actor
Yes.
by then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
This question from Evelyn. I want to know the question she scratched out. How do you manage a successful, high-profile career with living a normal private life? Do you find that you kind of have to hide from the public eye, or have you found a way to create a comfortable boundary? Really nice handwriting, by the way.
Yeah, it's almost like a font.
The Evelyn.
You know, I don't have the kind of recognition that like Matt Morrison has. I know that.
Really? It surprises me.
I mean, I get recognized, but and the kids too. I mean, they kind of have to prepare to go out. You know, it has taken some navigation. You know, it's always lovely, and but yeah. You know, I don't know. I take it a day at a time. Sometimes it feels it's terrible, oppressive, and other times it's like, oh, aren't I wonderful? This is just lovely having all these admirers. But yeah, every day is different, and but for the most part, you know, it's pretty great.
Do you have those Sally Field and soap dish days where if you're feeling down, you can go out and
Right, and feel good about yourself? Yeah, I'll go to the Grove. I'll put on some makeup and a cute little outfit, and I go to the Grove. Go to the Mac store. Paparazzi hang out there, and tourists are so impressed with you.
That's so particularly funny to me because I saw you at the Grove just a few weeks ago.
But my wife will say, you know, we have to go to the Mac store, and she'll go, I'll go by myself. Because there are a lot of paparazzi at the Grove.
Really? Go figure.
Yeah.
There's a question from Kiri Stevens. What kept you focused when you weren't booking jobs?
I was always doing a play or sketch comedy, doing something, especially like when I first got here. I've been busy. Even when like there were some years, there were a couple of years that were kind of lean, and I did more voiceover, or you know, I produced my own stuff. I did a one-person show, and you know, I've always been compelled. If I'm not in front of a camera, I was always, you know, I would do something on stage. And
I actually wanted to ask about the one-person show because didn't that start in Chicago?
No, it was here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember it premiered at the
Tamarind.
Oh, is that the Tamarind?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit?
Yeah,
about
sure. I was doing a bunch of characters at like in cabarets and sketch comedy, and I started to write monologues for them. Actually, the first monologue I wrote from an experience in therapy when I was getting all pissed off about something, and my therapist started to laugh and said, "You must do a character based on what you're telling me right now." And so I created the Angry Lady and gave her a neck brace, and she always had injuries, like she would have a broken finger or an eye patch, and she would enter the stage to the Flight of the Valkyries, you know. And she was so angry she could barely speak above a whisper, so I would have a microphone and I would tell some tale of woe about, you know, how I'd been taken advantage of. And so I wrote a couple of monologues for her, 3 monologues for her, and then I found myself writing monologues for other characters, and I started going to kind of on my own. I was kind of done with the sketch comedy thing, and I just started showing up at, I think we probably still have them, but Kathy Griffin was doing them, and a bunch of people who have turned into big stand-up comics, where you just show up with your own cassette tape, and you know, this is my background music, and you go do your thing. So I put them all together kind of loosely under an umbrella of female empowerment, and I called it "Oh Sister, My Sister," and it was basically an excuse to do a bunch of these characters. and it had a little bit of a through line, but it basically was, oh, look at me do this funny character, and I'll wear this wig. But yeah, it was really satisfying, and I enlisted a couple of friends to be in it, and a good friend did the music, and I had a friend do the lights, and it was really nice. And we were all cancers too. I remember that we were all.
And what was the
one would be mad at somebody, and it was very Cancerian.
What was the response like? Did you find you got any work out of it?
I don't know that I specifically got a job from it, but it blew open the doors for me energetically. Just that it was, confidence-wise, and we did well. We got great reviews. We won an LA Weekly Award, and it was very satisfying. And I can't say that I think I met Christopher Guest like within the year, but he hadn't seen it. Mm-hmm. But I think just in terms of my own confidence and my kind of how I carried myself in the world, it went a long way to make me feel good about myself professionally.
Was there ever a time when when things were really rough and you considered giving up acting?
I kind of have rose-colored glasses. I would say no, but then a friend reminded me that she met me on the top of Ryman Canyon. I was on my way down and she was on her way up, and I said to her, I want to quit. Now I remember this, and I said, I think I'm done. I have to leave LA. And I remember she had her little baby in one of those papoose things, and she said, don't you dare, And she's an actress too. She said, we got to hang in there. And, she kind of talked me off the precipice, if you will. And by the time I got down the hill, I was back in the game.
So you quit for a short time.
Yeah. Halfway up the hill.
You've worked with so many amazing directors, from Fred Savage to Martin Scorsese.
Right, exactly. Fred Savage.
What is it that you hope for from a director when you show up to set?
Just leave me alone. No, really, I do. If a director starts to come over to me, I'm like, oh. Because you kind of hope they just let you do your process. Because if I start trying to please a director, I'm lost. And most good directors don't. Mm-hmm. They just give you little adjustments. You wouldn't be there unless they wanted you there. If I start to get too specific, if someone starts to try to, and if I know a bunch of your actors too, it's awful when you feel yourself, you're kind of you're revving up to get somewhere, and you're kind of trying on the clothes of what you're doing, and someone comes over and they want to take you out of it. It's really frustrating.
Without having to name names, have you had any really negative experiences on sets?
Negative. When I first got to town, there was kind of a thing going on in sitcoms where, from the point of view of a guest star, was always kind of frustrating. But there's every once in a while, and this is, for the most part, everybody was lovely. But every once in a while, there might be someone who's like the star who, maybe kind of emotionally manipulates the set, and that was always kind of distressing. But for the most part, no, it didn't affect me. I didn't really care that much. It was just kind of interesting to watch.
Were you always that mentally healthy, or is that something you developed over time?
No, well, thank you for saying that, but I probably was pretty mentally healthy from the get-go about that kind of thing, yes.
Do you think any of that maybe came from starting later, coming out to LA? Yeah,
and also, I'm a group person. I love ensemble. Mm-hmm. I don't ever want to be in the Jane Lynch show. That has never been my thing. I'm writing a book, actually, kind of a memoir, and I've told it all to you right now in what I've done today. But my mother is very. She's half Swedish, and the Swede wins out a lot, and she's very. She doesn't like braggarts, and she doesn't like people who are show-offs, and she's that kind of, I always got the idea that if I was too, me, that I wouldn't get her affection. And, I tell her this now, and she goes, don't go blaming me. But I think that that looms large in me, that I just really want to be a part of a group. I don't ever want to kind of. And that's why getting awards, too, kind of feels odd. Mm-hmm. And as much as I'm grateful, I like being part of the group. And being singled out then kind of makes you go, oh, I don't.
What about something like the SAG Ensemble Award?
That was fantastic.
Perfect.
Yes, yeah. Perfect. Absolutely.
When did you sort of realize that Glee had become a phenomenon?
After the pilot aired, and that summer, it went viral. It was huge, and it started to get there was like a fever around it. So it was that summer, in between the pilot and before we even aired our next episode, it was like this huge hit, and it was pretty amazing.
And then didn't you meet the president at some point?
Barack Obama?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Barack to you.
Yes,
I'm sure,
Barack to me, yes. I did, but not because of Glee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the kids went and sang for the Easter egg hunt last year, but he, before he was president, did a gay debate for Logo. I don't know if you remember that.
Sure.
It was, and a bunch of us, there were like 10 of us who went backstage to meet him before the debate, and he said to me, "You look really familiar." And I said, "Well, I'm from Chicago. You know, maybe that's it." And he went, "I can't figure it out." And then he met the other people and he started to talk and he went, 40-year-old virgin. Isn't that funny? I love that he saw the 40-year-old virgin. I'll vote for that, man.
I just love the image of him watching 40-year-old virgin with Michelle.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to ask, before Glee, what did most people recognize you from?
It depends. If it's a teenage boy, it was Role Models. It was like a guy in his early 20s. It was a 40-year-old virgin. An 11-year-old girl would be another Cinderella story. I could just tell, by the way, someone walking up to me, I knew exactly what they were going to say. I can't really tell Best in Show type people.
Yeah.
The Christopher Guest people. But I can pick out a Role Models person just
Really?
Yeah.
When they start coming at you,
Yeah,
you know what movie it's going to be?
Yeah. Someone came up to me the other day and completely caught me off guard. I didn't get it at first. And he said, a guy was parking cars, he was a valet guy, and he goes, "What'd you have for breakfast?" And I went, and it took me about a second before I went, "Cocaine." He said, "What'd you have for lunch?" "Cocaine." And he went, "All right." It's from the Role Models.
What's your favorite part about being a working actor?
Is going to work every day. It's still very exciting, even if it's 4 a.m. or if it's like 5 p.m. It's I love going to work. I love, you know, when I get that text saying you're working tomorrow, 8 a.m. or whatever. I'm like, yes, I love it.
Is there anything you don't like about it?
About being a working actor? No, I love it. I love it. There's nothing not to like.
Or the business in general?
No, I love it. I love the business. And it's funny, I think if you come at the business, whatever you come at, I think this is just a rule in life. If you come at something with love and an open heart, you meet the people who have love and an open heart. I think that, I think if you're looking for the bad, you're going to find it. Yeah.
You mentioned that you are not getting offers, but do you have anything else coming up?
Let's see. No, but I might do a movie in the summer. We'll see. We're working it out, right, Gabs? She's around somewhere. might not. We'll see.
We're really putting her to work tonight.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine so many actors approach you and ask for advice.
Yeah.
What is it that you can tell them?
Oh, it's always unsatisfying for them, I'm sure. Is that I wish I had the keys to the kingdom, but I don't. I mean, really, truly, there is no recipe. I always quote Carol Brady, find what it is you do best and do your best with it. You know, I think that's what I ended up doing, is finding, that I'm good at comedy and I'm good at sketch and I'm good in a group. And I found myself there and I went, oh, okay, so this is it. Yeah.
Speaking of, I randomly was wondering, did you ever get to meet Florence Henderson?
I did, yeah. When we were doing the Real Live Brady Bunch and we opened here at the Westwood Playhouse, she came to opening night and she pulled me aside. She said, I just have to know, are you making fun of us? And I said, no, this is, we're honoring you. This show is, a big part of our lives. And she said, good, I just wanted to make sure. So lovely. And we were making fun of them just a little bit, but not in a bad way. It was basically making fun of ourselves. I think the reason we loved the Brady Bunch so much is it was a show that was, had an idealistic family that everybody wanted to be a part of. You could pitch a fit, run up to your room, and you'd get this gentle knock. You want to talk? That didn't happen in my house. And I think we all were really just taken by that. It was a very sweet show.
What's been kind of the weirdest perk from being on Glee?
Hair products. I just said so many hair products. The weirdest perk. Well, not just from Glee, but just kind of celebrity is nice. You can get a table at a restaurant and you get the tire put on your car. Maybe they're a little nicer to you. I like that. That's really nice. I like when people are nice.
Because otherwise they would be cruel.
Right,
horribly
yeah.
cruel.
Yeah, it hurts my feelings.
And working with that cast, because you watched them grow, you were mentioning
Yes.
earlier, was that chemistry always there with that ensemble? From
Yes,
the beginning?
they were close from the beginning, and they're still very close. They're really a group, and they take care of each other. And I know that stuff probably goes on, and there's probably odd man out every once in a while, I'm sure. But they really protect the group, and it's very much like the Glee Club on television. If you're in the group, you're in, and they take care of they protect you. They take care of your vulnerabilities, your tenderness, and it's kind of like in a marriage where you do things for the marriage. And they do things for the group.
How does your mom feel about the show?
She loves it. She's just over the moon. She's just, she called me today. She's 81, and she said, the TV, we're going to watch you on the TV. Her voice is like this now. We're going to watch you on the TV Land Awards tonight. Then you're on Access Hollywood, because she gets this thing that says what I'm on. And then we're going to watch that too, so I'll let you know how that goes.
Does she have you on like Google Alert?
Yeah, she has me on, on that TiVo thing where you can.
Oh yes, yes.
I don't know, where it shows up on your TiVo.
Is there ever been anything strange you've read about yourself? Like
that I had a baby. Not that I gave birth, but it was on page 6 that Laura and I adopted a baby. That was weird. And also that I'm in the Muppet movie. I'm not.
Aw.
I know. I wish I was. And that's about it. Nothing really weird.
Yeah.
Let me think if anybody said. Yeah, no, that's about it.
Maybe they're too scared of Sue to make stuff up.
Yeah, I wonder.
The most scandalous thing they can say is you're in the Muppet movie.
Right, exactly.
That's too bad, though. That would actually be really neat.
It would be, wouldn't it?
I know I've gone exhaustively through your career, and I'm sure it's very difficult to pick, but is there a favorite role or a favorite moment?
Well, it's always truly the role I'm doing, in which is Sue Sylvester is a great role, and oh my God, I just love it. But I think, every role that I've had has grown me. It's grown me up in some way. And when I did A Mighty Wind, I played a very sensual, feminine, sexually confident woman in a more feminine way than the store manager in 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's kind of cocky. And it was so, and I chose this obviously because it was something that I had never done. She was very much in love with her own feminine form and her round ass, and the chicken cutlets, and I sprayed on a tan, and I had my hair done like I'd been at a beauty shop, and it's just things I couldn't wait to get out of it really at the end of each day. But it really did kind of loosen me up in a more feminine way, and I use acting as therapy a lot, to access parts of myself that maybe that I don't lead with, to experience that.
Maybe a strange question, but how do you choose your roles?
You offer them to me. That's how I choose them. I rarely say no to anything. I don't know that if that's the advice I would give anybody. I don't know if that's good advice at all, but I never say no. So I've ended up doing some things that, maybe are crappy, or, I worked with maybe people who weren't very good or weren't very nice, but I show up for everything. At least I used to. I don't so much anymore, but I said yes to everything.
And I don't know if you're aware of this or not. I'm sure you probably are, but you've quite a reputation in Hollywood as being just one of the nicest people to work with.
Oh, that's nice.
And isn't that nice? And that's not always easy in an industry that doesn't always reward niceness. How have you managed to keep that perspective?
Well, I'm just so happy to be invited. I think, and I want to be invited back. I truly love what I do, and it's joyful. It's a very joyful thing, and I'm always happy to be there. And it used to be easy to be the nice person on the set because I was usually only there for a couple of days. I've been on Glee now for a couple of years, and you really get to know a person after a couple of years, and I'm still pretty nice. I don't know. I think that when you love what you do, And if this did happen to me when I was about 42, as well. I started to get more work and kind of reach this level of success at an older age, and I think that I probably have a little more gratitude than maybe I would have had when I was in my 20s. But the kids on the Glee set are so great. They know what they have. It's really fun to watch them. They know that they're breathing rarefied air.
Really?
They get it. Yeah, they get it.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens next. In fact, just tell us.
Okay. I wish I can't remember anything, and I probably can't tell you anyway. But yeah, the fun things are happening. Really great songs.
Will Sue be getting any love interest? Who would be your ideal love interest for Sue?
Well, I had heard this rumbling about Javier Bardem, and I'd be all over that.
You could not go wrong with
Ryan
that.
did Eat, Pray, Love with him, and he said, I would like to be on your show. I don't know, that was a terrible imitation of Javier Bardem. I thought that would be great, but I think that just kind of went away.
Oh, no. Well, we'll start a fan campaign.
Yeah, let's get a campaign. Yeah.
Do they pay much attention to, how can you not hear, fan reaction?
Oh, yeah, Ryan is really up on it. Ryan is so up on everything. He's up on fan reaction, he's up on all the latest music, and then he throws in the oldies but goodies, and Ryan picks every song too. Yeah, he's up on all of it. Yeah.
Well, we'll get on that because I think Anton Chigurh might be the person to tame Sue Sylvester.
Who's this?
His character from Country for Old Men.
Who's this? Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, oh, yes. Yeah, that would be freaky.
So that's a pairing I would love to see.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations.
Sorry I was late.